Today I'm going to talk about why Tunisia is smart by putting a restriction on used clothing imports to only credential quality. And I'm going to break what that means and why that's a smart move on Tunisia's part to avoid some of the problems we're seeing in East Africa, as recently was described by a wonderful CBC article highlighting how the high volume of clothing, used clothing that is low quality, being exported out of Canada to East Africa is decimating their economy by degrading the garment sector. And when you impact a country's garment sector because of their job multiplication factor, it has a massive ripple effect. So one job in the garment industry supports 66 other jobs. So therefore, whenever a garment industry gets degraded, we see huge economic decline over a several year period, and it's hard to absorb those jobs elsewhere because it's such a niche. Those skills aren't easily transferable. So anyway, so it's causing all this economic crisis, and Tunisia avoids that by putting a limit on the quality of the clothing that comes in there. And this works in two ways. One way is that the local secondhand economy is actually a huge economic driving force. And whenever you see a population's household income not rise as quickly as the costs of housing, you see a secondhand economy start to blossom. And not only does that, help people that are on lower income have the things they need, like clothing, but aside from that, it also provides jobs locally. So, for example, normally what ends up happening is that the clothes are sorted in Canada. We collect clothing. They're taken to these massive sorting facilities. Each facility employs about 100 people full time, and they sort all the clothes and then they send it to various parts. Now, the good quality clothing is kept in Canada or the US and sold to the secondhand market. Otherwise, it's shipped to South America. And South America, because it doesn't have a local garment sector, I mean, it does, but not, as a major supporter of the economy, unlike Canada did. And then when Canada's garment sector died, the economy started to crash right around that time or soon after. So in any case, South America doesn't have that risk. And in fact, the secondhand economy in South America has lifted a ton of people out of poverty because it's an easy entry point into entrepreneurism. With $250, somebody can buy a mixed bale of clothing, set up a little stall at a market, and sell their clothing, and that turns into two bales, which turns into a retail store, and suddenly a business is born. Well, Tunisia makes this happen by forcing them to only sell credential. So what's credential clothing? Credential clothing is, as it's collected, it's loaded onto a container. And TWD, which is the family business, textile waste diversion, they sell credential clothing exclusively. So what happens is we collect clothing out of used clothing bins and people pack them in various bags, right? Garbage bags, shopping bags, whatever. And as we take them out of the bin, we load them onto the container and ship it out to our local or foreign buyers as is. We don't touch it. And we don't touch it because we're promising that even the good stuff that we collect, they're going to get at the same price, which means when you open up that bag, the sock with a hole in it is worth the exact same amount as a Chanel purse. And then what ends up happening is whoever sorts it gets to keep the Chanels and the good quality stuff and sell that at a higher price, which means they buy it off me at a slightly higher price to compensate for that. Otherwise, I could just sort through it myself, sell them the crappier stuff, and keep the good stuff for myself to resell. But TWD just can't be bothered with the sorting. So we work with sorting facilities, foreign and domestic, but mostly domestic. But in any case, so that's our specialty. But in Tunisia will only buy if it's been unsorted. They want the good stuff. And that way they can set up the local markets in Tunisia and kind of replicate what South America's doing by having that easy entry point into entrepreneurism. They end up getting with Canada's better quality clothing, so they don't just get stuck with the stuff that you're seeing being sent to Africa by, let's say, Value Village, where when you donate to a charity in Ontario anyway, there's a really good chance that they sell to Value Village. Value Village sells what they can in their stores. The same with Salvation Army, they sell what they can in their stores, and then what they can't sell, they try to sell on a lower price, you know what I mean, for lower grade quality, and that's all shipped to Africa because pretty much nobody else in the world wants it. Although there are emerging markets starting now to make themselves available. But in any case, for the most part, Canada's lower quality clothing all gets shipped to East Africa. Dirty low prices, it degrades, like I said, their garment industry, and allegedly causes wreaks economic havoc. So Tunisia avoids that by only selling credential. And beyond the fact that they just end up getting the Chanel purses or whatever might be in the bag, is also they're now providing jobs for sorting facilities, which means if you're an importer in Tunisia, it's not just a matter of importing and selling by the mixed bale, because now you're buying unsorted material, which means these garments have to be sorted. So now that's gonna, the 100 people that used to get employed in Canada, if you're gonna deal with Tunisia, now you have to set up that facility in Tunisia. So those jobs just got moved to Tunisia, which is smart on their part. And the sorting industry in Canada, it's been around now for about 50 years. There used to be about 90 sorters in Ontario, and that has whittled down quite a bit. And beyond that, most of them are talking about moving their operations overseas because of the minimum wage increase that just happened in Ontario. And now there are countries like Tunisia, but also there's parts of the world like Karachi, which is now rumored to become the hotbed of sorting all over the world because of the cost effectiveness of labor. So a lot of the graders in Canada will be shutting down or scaling down their operations. They're going to start exporting direct, and those sorting jobs that used to be in Canada are going to be moving to the areas like Tunisia and Karachi. And now that they're doing it, you're going to see other areas start to do it too. So Canada's about to lose those sorting facility jobs, and we're talking about several thousand jobs probably. And again, it's manual labor, so that skill set is actually transferable. Maybe not for garments, but they can likely find jobs as laborers in other in other industries. So it's not going to cause a huge economic downturn by this happening, but it's certainly not ideal either. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful day.